I never thought life could change so dramatically in a single moment. My name is Emma Thompson, and this is the story of how my world fell apart. It all began when my beloved father, Robert, passed away after a grueling battle with a relentless illness. One gloomy afternoon, as raindrops pelted against the windowpane, I received a call from my mother. Her voice trembled with anguish as she delivered the news that would forever alter the course of my life. "Emma," she choked out, "your father!" The weight of those words crashed over me like an avalanche, stealing the air from my lungs. Tears welled in my eyes as I clutched the phone, trying to make sense of the cruel reality before me. "No," I whispered, barely recognizing the broken voice that escaped my lips. "It can't be true." The following days were a blur of numbness and disbelief. Friends and relatives offered their condolences, but their words seemed distant, as if spoken from a great distance. Inside, a tempest of emotions raged, a potent cocktail of sadness, anger, and an overwhelming sense of loss. One evening, as I sat in the dimly lit living room, lost in the labyrinth of my thoughts, my husband, Daniel, entered the room. His eyes held a coldness that sent a shiver down my spine. "Emma," he said, his voice devoid of empathy, "I've been thinking about your father's inheritance." The callousness of his words struck me like a slap in the face. How could he be so heartless, so focused on financial gain, at a time when my heart was shattered into a million irreparable pieces? Anger surged within me, replacing the numbness that had engulfed me since my father's passing. I glared at Daniel, my voice quivering with a mixture of grief and indignation. "Is that all you can think about?" I snapped. "My father has just died, and all you care about is money?" Daniel's expression hardened, his eyes narrowing. "Don't be naive, Emma," he retorted, his tone laced with impatience. "Your father's inheritance is substantial. It's only natural to consider what it means for our future." In that moment, a chasm opened between us, a divide carved by the vast difference in our priorities. While I mourned the loss of a cherished parent, Daniel saw an opportunity for financial gain. The realization stung like a betrayal, driving a wedge deeper into our fractured relationship. As I retreated into the depths of my grief, an ember of determination flickered within me. No longer would I allow Daniel's callousness to go unchallenged. I would fight for my father's memory, for the justice he deserved, and for the love he had bestowed upon me. Little did I know then that this battle would lead me down a treacherous path, filled with unexpected twists and turns. The storm had just begun, and I was about to discover the strength within me to weather it, even if it meant facing the darkness head-on. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but the weight of my father's absence never lifted. Each morning brought with it a heavy blanket of depression that wrapped itself around me, suffocating my every breath. I withdrew from the world, my heart burdened with an insurmountable sadness. As the days stretched into a monotonous blur, Daniel seemed strangely unaffected by my emotional turmoil. He went about his daily routine with an air of detachment, as if my grief held no significance in his life. His thoughts appeared to be preoccupied with a different matter altogether, the prospect of inheriting my father's substantial wealth. One evening, as I stared out of the window, the moon casting a pale glow upon the room, Daniel approached me. His voice, devoid of sympathy, pierced through the silence. "Emma, we need to discuss your father's inheritance. It's crucial for our future." His words cut through my fragile emotional state, inciting a mix of anger and despair. I turned to face him, my eyes welling with tears. "How can you be so cold, Daniel? My father just died, and all you can think about is money." Daniel's expression remained unmoved, his gaze fixed on a distant point. "Emma, you need to be practical," he stated matter-of-factly. "Your father worked hard for his wealth, and it would be foolish to let it slip through our fingers." I felt a surge of frustration, my voice quivering with a mix of sorrow and anger. "This isn't about the money, Daniel. It's about the fact that my father is gone. He was a kind and loving man, and all I can think about is how much I miss him." Daniel's eyes flickered with impatience, his tone laced with annoyance. "You need to move on, Emma. We can't dwell on the past forever. The inheritance is a lifeline, a way to secure our future." His callous disregard for my emotions gnawed at my soul. How had we become so disconnected, so distant in our grief? The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. Daniel's priorities were far removed from mine, and the fracture in our relationship grew wider with each passing day. In the depths of my sorrow, a seed of defiance sprouted within me. I would not let Daniel's selfishness overshadow my father's memory. I would find a way to honor him, to ensure that his legacy was preserved for the right reasons. As the shadows of sorrow deepened, a flicker of resilience ignited within me. I knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but I was determined to navigate through the darkness, seeking a sliver of light and solace in my father's memory. Little did I know then that this determination would set in motion a chain of events that would forever alter the course of my life. I couldn't bear the idea of my father's hard-earned fortune falling into the hands of someone so callous and self-serving. It was then that a daring plan began to form in my mind. I would confront Daniel and reveal his true intentions. Perhaps in doing so, I could shame him into realizing the depth of his greed. Summoning my courage, I sat Daniel down one evening, the tension palpable in the air. The flickering candle on the table cast eerie shadows across the room as I mustered the words to confront him. "Daniel," I began, my voice steady but filled with an underlying resolve. "We need to talk about your intentions regarding my father's inheritance." Daniel's brow furrowed, a hint of surprise flickering in his eyes. "What do you mean, Emma? I've already made it clear that securing the inheritance is crucial for our future." I took a deep breath, steeling myself against the rising emotions within me. "It's not just about securing our future, Daniel. It's about your single-minded focus on the money, your disregard for my grief, and the memory of my father." His face contorted with frustration, his voice tinged with impatience. "Emma, I understand that you're grieving, but we can't ignore the practical aspects of this situation. Your father left behind a significant sum of money, and it's only logical to consider what it means for our lives." My heart sank at his dismissive words, but I refused to let him undermine my resolve. "Logical? Daniel, this goes beyond logic. It's about empathy, compassion, and honoring the memory of a man who meant the world to me." Daniel's eyes narrowed, his voice dripping with annoyance. "Emma, I don't understand why you're making such a big deal out of this. We have an opportunity here, a chance to secure our financial stability for years to come. Why can't you see that?" Tears welled in my eyes as I met his gaze, my voice trembling with a mix of sorrow and determination. "Because, Daniel, I refuse to let greed taint my father's legacy. I refuse to let his memory be reduced to a dollar sign. There has to be more to life than just money." Silence hung heavy in the air, the weight of our conflicting desires pulling us further apart. In that moment, I realized that our values, once intertwined, had diverged irreparably. The realization solidified my decision. It was time to take matters into my own hands. With a newfound determination, I embarked on a path that would require careful planning and calculated risks. I sought the assistance of a trusted lawyer, Sarah Reynolds, who specialized in estate matters. Together, we meticulously analyzed my father's will, uncovering subtle loopholes that could work to my advantage. Days turned into late nights as Sarah and I strategized, formulating a plan that would expose Daniel's true nature and ensure that my father's legacy would be protected. It was a high-stakes game, one that would test my mettle and push the boundaries of what I believed myself capable of. As the plan took shape, I felt a surge of empowerment, a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice. It was about reclaiming my father's memory from the clutches of greed and ensuring that his legacy would shine as a beacon of integrity. Little did I know then that the journey ahead would be fraught with unexpected twists and betrayals, challenging not only my strength, but also the very essence of who I was. But I was ready to face it all, fueled by a determination that had been ignited from the depths of my sorrow. The confrontation ignited a fiery argument that echoed through the walls of our once happy home. Accusations and bitter words flew back and forth like poisoned arrows. Our love, once a foundation we thought indestructible, was now crumbling under the weight of our contempt. Days turned into weeks, and our once shared space became a battleground of tension and resentment. The air was heavy with hostility, each passing moment deepening the chasm between us. It seemed as though the love that once bound us had evaporated, replaced by a toxic mix of anger and betrayal. One evening, the tension reached its breaking point, voices raised, harsh words exchanged, and the fragile remnants of our bond shattered like fragile glass. "How could you be so heartless, Daniel?" I cried out, my voice laced with anguish. "You're supposed to be my partner, my source of support. Instead, all I see is a relentless pursuit of wealth." Daniel's face twisted with anger, his voice dripping with disdain. "And what about you, Emma?" he retorted. "You're drowning in your grief, shutting me out completely. It's as if your pain is the only thing that matters, and I'm left to fend for myself." Tears streamed down my face as I fought to find the right words. My voice choked with sorrow. "My grief is consuming me, Daniel, because I lost my father. I lost someone who meant the world to me. Can't you understand that?" His gaze hardened, his words laced with frustration. "I understand your loss, Emma, but I also see an opportunity for us to secure our future, to live a life of comfort and stability. It's not about greed, it's about making the most of what's been left behind." The realization struck me like a lightning bolt. We had become strangers in our own home, unable to bridge the gap between our differing priorities. It was then that I knew something had to change. In the following days, the silence grew deafening. We spoke only when necessary, our interactions reduced to the bare minimum. It was clear that our marriage had reached its breaking point and a decision needed to be made. With a heavy heart, I sought solace in the counsel of a close friend. She reminded me of my worth, of the strength I had within me, and so, with a renewed sense of determination, I made the difficult choice to file for divorce. The news hit Daniel like a tidal wave, and for a brief moment I saw a flicker of regret in his eyes, but it was too late. The damage had been done, and I was no longer willing to sacrifice my happiness and my father's legacy for the sake of a love that had withered away. The divorce proceedings were grueling. Emotionally draining battles fought in the courtroom. Lawyers argued, evidence was presented, and the judge weighed our fates in the balance. But amidst the chaos and the heartache, I clung to the hope that justice would prevail, that my father's memory would be protected from the clutches of greed. As the final verdict loomed, anxiety pulsed through my veins. The courtroom was filled with a tense atmosphere, and I held my breath, waiting for the judge's decision. And then, like a whisper in the wind, the judge's voice resounded, the words carrying the weight of my entire future. The judge's words hung in the air, the courtroom buzzing with anticipation. The fate of my father's inheritance rested on this pivotal moment. Would justice prevail, or would Daniel's relentless pursuit of wealth triumph? "The court has reached a decision," the judge announced, his voice carrying a mix of authority and gravity. "After careful consideration of the evidence and testimonies, it is ruled that the entirety of Robert Thompson's estate shall be awarded to Emma Thompson." Gasps of disbelief rippled through the courtroom. I could hardly believe my ears. The weight of the verdict sank in, a surge of emotions washing over me. Relief, triumph, and a bittersweet sense of victory. Justice had prevailed, and my father's memory would be preserved. Daniel, on the other hand, stared at me, his eyes wide with shock and anger. "This is outrageous!" he exclaimed, his voice trembling with indignation. "How can you possibly be entitled to everything?" I stood tall, my voice steady and resolute. "It's simple, Daniel," I replied, my words echoing with a newfound strength. "While you were focused on money, I fought for justice and honored my father's memory. The court has recognized that." Daniel's face twisted with frustration, his attempts to argue falling flat against the judgment rendered. It was clear that he was grasping at straws, unable to comprehend the consequences of his own actions. In the aftermath of the courtroom battle, the reality of my victory sank in. The journey had been arduous, fraught with emotional turmoil, but it had led me to this moment, a moment of triumph and vindication. However, as I held the inheritance in my hands, a wave of melancholy washed over me. The victory felt hollow, the cost too high. My marriage had crumbled, and the love that once bound us had been lost to the relentless pursuit of wealth. But amidst the bitterness, a glimmer of hope emerged. I had reclaimed my father's legacy, ensuring that his memory would shine with the integrity and compassion he embodied. It was a bittersweet victory, but a victory nonetheless. As the days turned into weeks, I immersed myself in the process of managing the inheritance. With the assistance of a trusted financial advisor, I made careful investments and allocated funds to charitable causes close to my father's heart. It was a way to ensure that his legacy would extend beyond the confines of mere wealth. In the midst of rebuilding my life, I discovered an inner strength I never knew existed. The journey had transformed me, molding me into a woman who refused to be defined by the challenges she faced. I embraced my newfound independence and forged a path of my own, unburdened by the shadows of the past. Yet, as I relished in the fruits of my victory, I couldn't help but wonder about the toll it had taken on both Daniel and me. I contemplated the choices we had made, the paths we had diverged upon, and the irreparable damage inflicted upon our relationship. But the time for dwelling on the past had passed. The future beckoned, brimming with possibilities and opportunities. I would carry my father's legacy with grace, nurturing the values he instilled in me and ensuring that his memory would forever shine brightly. Little did I know then that the repercussions of my revenge plan would continue to unfold, revealing unexpected twists and challenges that would test my resolve in ways I never anticipated. The long game had only just begun, and I was prepared to face whatever lay ahead, armed with the lessons learned and the strength I had gained through my journey of sorrow and triumph. In the aftermath of the courtroom victory, a newfound sense of purpose and determination filled my days. The inheritance had been secured, but there was still a lingering question that haunted me. Had Daniel truly been driven solely by greed, or was there something more beneath the surface? I delved into a process of introspection, seeking to unravel the complexities of our relationship and uncover the truth that lay hidden within. It was a daunting task, requiring me to confront my own emotions and revisit the shattered remnants of our marriage. During one particularly introspective evening, I received a surprise phone call. It was Sarah Reynolds, the lawyer who had aided me in my battle for the inheritance. Her voice carried a sense of urgency as she explained that she had stumbled upon a series of discrepancies regarding Daniel's actions during the legal proceedings. "There's something you need to know, Emma," Sarah said, her tone a mix of concern and excitement. "I've discovered evidence that suggests Daniel may have manipulated certain documents and concealed information during the divorce proceedings." My heart quickened, a mix of shock and curiosity coursing through my veins. "What kind of evidence?" I asked, my voice trembling with anticipation. "I can't reveal all the details over the phone, but it seems that Daniel's intentions were far from innocent," Sarah replied. "There are inconsistencies in the financial records, as well as indications that he may have engaged in deceitful practices to further his own agenda." The revelation hit me like a tidal wave, casting a shadow of doubt over everything I thought I knew. Could it be possible that Daniel's pursuit of the inheritance had been fueled by more than mere greed? Had he resorted to manipulative tactics to ensure his own gain? With newfound resolve, I embarked on a quest for the truth. Together with Sarah, we meticulously combed through financial records, correspondence, and testimonies, uncovering a web of deceit that had been carefully woven. Days turned into weeks as the puzzle pieces fell into place. Conversations with mutual acquaintances shed light on Daniel's true nature. Stories of hidden agendas, questionable business dealings, and a propensity for manipulating those around him. Armed with the evidence we had amassed, Sarah and I confronted Daniel. It was a tense meeting, filled with accusations and a desperate search for answers. "You thought you could deceive me, Daniel," I said, my voice laced with a mix of anger and disappointment. "But I know the truth now. You manipulated the divorce proceedings, using deceitful practices to gain an advantage." Daniel's face contorted with a mixture of defiance and desperation. "You have no proof," he spat, his voice wavering with the weight of his own deceit. "It's all just speculation." Sarah held up a stack of incriminating documents, her voice firm. "We have evidence, Daniel. Evidence that shows your actions were anything but innocent. The truth will be revealed, and you will face the consequences." As the realization of his actions settled upon him, a flicker of fear crossed Daniel's face. His arrogance, once so palpable, crumbled under the weight of the truth. The truth, once hidden in the shadows, had finally been unveiled. The revelation shattered the illusion of the man I had once loved, leaving behind a trail of shattered trust and broken dreams. The web of deceit he had spun had unraveled, and he stood exposed for all to see. But amidst the chaos and the wreckage, I found solace in the fact that justice would prevail. The truth would set me free from the shackles of doubt and betrayal, allowing me to move forward with my head held high. Little did I know then that the aftermath of this revelation would test my resolve even further, forcing me to confront the consequences of Daniel's actions and navigate a path towards healing and redemption. The unveiling of the truth was just the beginning of a new chapter in my life, one filled with unforeseen challenges and unexpected opportunities for growth. As the dust settled from the revelation of Daniel's deceit, I found myself grappling with a mix of emotions: relief, anger, and a lingering sense of betrayal. The truth had come to light, but its aftermath left me questioning the path I had chosen and the future that lay before me. In the midst of this turmoil, a twist of fate emerged, altering the course of my journey. It began with a chance encounter at a local charity event where I crossed paths with David Miller, a successful entrepreneur known for his philanthropic endeavors. David approached me with a warm smile, his eyes filled with a genuine sense of compassion. "Emma Thompson, isn't it?" he greeted, extending his hand. "I've heard so much about you and the incredible work you've been doing with your father's inheritance." I shook his hand, feeling a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "Yes, that's me," I replied, my voice tinged with a hint of wariness. "And who might you be?" David chuckled, his charisma putting me at ease. Apologies for my rudeness. "I'm David Miller, a fellow advocate for philanthropy and social causes. I must say, I've been inspired by your dedication and the impact you've made with the inheritance." A spark of intrigue ignited within me, and I leaned in, genuinely interested. "Tell me more, David. What brings you here?" David's expression turned serious, his voice filled with sincerity. "I've been touched by your story, Emma. I've seen firsthand the power of compassion and the impact it can have on the lives of others. I believe in your mission, and I would like to offer my support." I was taken aback by his genuine offer of assistance. After the trials I had endured, it was refreshing to encounter someone who saw beyond the surface and believed in the true purpose of my endeavors. "Thank you, David," I responded, a mixture of gratitude and curiosity evident in my voice. "But why me? Why offer your support in this way?" David's smile widened, his eyes sparkling with determination. "Because I believe that together we can make an even greater difference. Your father's legacy is not just about the wealth he left behind. It's about the values he instilled in you, and I want to be a part of that." The conversation continued late into the night, as David and I delved into our shared vision for creating positive change in the world. His perspective and expertise added a new dimension to my efforts, propelling me towards a future I had never imagined. In the weeks that followed, David and I worked closely, combining our resources and passion to amplify the impact of the inheritance. Together, we launched a foundation dedicated to supporting causes close to my father's heart: education, healthcare, and environmental sustainability. But as our partnership blossomed, a deeper connection between David and I emerged. What had started as a shared passion for philanthropy blossomed into a bond that transcended friendship. We found solace in each other's company, comfort in our shared experiences, and strength in our shared vision. One evening, as we sat under a starlit sky, David turned to me, his eyes filled with sincerity. "Emma, I never anticipated that our paths would intertwine in such a profound way," he confessed, his voice laced with vulnerability. "But I'm grateful for the twists of fate that brought us together." I gazed into his eyes, a sense of peace washing over me. "David, you've shown me a world of possibilities, a future where love and purpose can coexist," I replied, my voice soft yet resolute. "Together, we can create a legacy that surpasses the boundaries of wealth, a legacy of compassion, unity, and making a real difference in the lives of others." As we embarked on this new chapter of our lives, I couldn't help but reflect on the incredible journey I had undertaken. From the depths of sorrow and betrayal to the heights of triumph and love, my story had taught me the power of resilience, the importance of staying true to one's values, and the unexpected twists of fate that can shape our lives. In the end, it wasn't just about the inheritance or the revenge I had sought. It was about finding my own voice, discovering the strength within, and embracing the opportunities that arose, even in the face of adversity. And so, with David by my side and a shared commitment to making a positive impact, I stepped forward into the unknown, ready to leave a lasting mark on the world. A mark that was born not out of a desire for revenge, but out of love, compassion, and the belief in the transformative power of our choices.